Okay, guys. So, I want to see if I can get the couple of videos up that I'm hoping to get up. This one is just going to be on, how much produce you can get out of a square foot garden. A year of square foot gardening produce. And it's going to be a short little video, and then I'm going to end it with a little excerpt from what they call In Mel's Words. The guy that wrote this book, Mel Bartholomew. So here we go. I'll probably use that for the cover. A year of square foot gardening produce. On the following page, which I just showed you, you'll see all the produce you can grow in 1 square foot garden. In a moderate climate with a regular growing season. Alright, I'll show it again. Moderate climate with a regular growing season. We can grow all this stuff in Michigan. Now, the eggplant, I'm going to be putting in our greenhouse. So, if you live in the South, you might get even more food than this. Our 16 grid squares are planted as follows. This square foot gardening setup is a standard 4x4 box. The backside is mounted with a classic conduit and net trellis. It was planted with maximum diversity in mind, with 1 different type of vegetable in each grid. The first one, pole beans, and they did 8 seeds. You can plant up to 9 of beans and peas. 2, climbing peas, 8 seeds and plants. 3, a muskmelon or cantaloupe, 1. You don't want to, and they use 2 squares for that, which is probably the more ideal. 4, this one, tomato. 5, green pepper, just 1. Eggplant, 1. Provence lavender, 2 plants. 8, head cabbage, 1 plant. Yeah. 9, broccoli, 1 plant. 10, cauliflower, 1 plant. 11, curly kale. Now this says 1, but you can plant 2 kale in a square foot. 12, leaf lettuce. Now this says 4 plants, but with leaf lettuce, which is smaller than your head lettuce, you can plant up to 16 of those in a square foot. 13, onions, 16 sets, that's true. Radishes, 16 seeds and plants. And 15, leaf spinach, 9 seeds and plants, and that's also true. So then we get on the harvest from 1 4x4 square foot garden in a single growing season. 2 gallons of green beans, 2 gallons of peas, 18 cucumbers, 4 muskmelons or cantaloupes, 18 tomatoes, 12 green peppers, 10 eggplants, 8 potatoes, 1 to 3 heads of cabbage, 1 to 4 heads of broccoli, 1 to 4 heads of cauliflower, 4 gallons of kale, 8 shocks of lettuce, 16 onions, 48 radishes, and 2 gallons of spinach. Now, with the lettuce, that just keeps on giving. If you just take them off as you need them, it'll keep on producing. So, and there's the picture for that. That's quite a bit from just 1 4x4 square foot garden. Alright, here we go. In Mel's words. It all started in 1975 after my retirement from my engineering consulting business in New Jersey. To celebrate, I moved my family to a waterfront home on the North Shore of Long Island. After a year of rebuilding the house and another year of landscaping and improving the grounds, I decided to take up gardening as a hobby. My first step was to attend a lecture on composting given by a local environmental group. It was a warm spring day in April, a great time to be out in the garden. A small group milled around at the advertised meeting point, but no instructor ever showed up. So rather than disband, I suggested to the group that we each share our knowledge with each other and tell what little we knew about composting. We had a wonderful time and actually learned a little bit from each other. As we prepared to leave, someone asked me, can we do this again next week? And I said, sure, why not? Thus began my new career of teaching gardening while I was still a novice myself. The next step was organizing a community garden for this same environmental group. I found some land and convinced the town to cut down all the weeds and fence it in. A local farmer delivered 2 truckloads of well-rotted manure, and after the ground was all fertilized and plowed up, we laid out plots and aisles and opened for business. All the spaces were quickly taken by people in the community, and everyone started with great enthusiasm. Because most of the participants were novices who didn't have a garden at home, they were enthusiastic about obtaining instruction and insights on gardening. So I initiated a Saturday morning gardening workshop and presented information on a different subject each week while everyone sat around on bales of hay listening. I was teaching basic single row gardening because that's all anyone knew back then. The local county agricultural agent helped out and everything went well until about midsummer. It was about then that our once enthusiastic gardeners stopped coming out to the garden. However, the weeds kept coming and growing. Pretty soon the place was overgrown and looked a mess. I was discouraged and thought I had better do some research to figure out why we had failed. So I visited many backyard gardens. What I found was a big space way out in the farthest corner of the yard, but as close to the neighbor's property line as possible. In most cases, these individual gardens were also filled with overgrown weeds. The first red flag went up in my mind, indicating that there was something wrong with traditional single-row gardening. I thought about all the conventional gardening practices we'd been taught and began to question the efficiency of each one. Gardening shouldn't be a lot of hard work. Gardening should be fun. There was something wrong here. This led to further questions. Why do the planting instructions on packages of seeds direct the gardener to pour out an entire packet along a row, only to have you later go back and tear out 95% of the seeds you planted once they sprout? Why use up an entire packet of seeds for every row you plant? Isn't that rather wasteful? Why would they instruct us to plant that way? Who's in charge here anyway? I soon realized that I had a lot of questions with very few answers, so I traveled all over the country seeking out the best experts, agricultural college professors, county agricultural agents, garden writers, radio and TV gardening personalities, gardening publishers, book writers, garden clubs, all those who were supposedly knowledgeable in the field of gardening. I sought answers to all the gardening questions I had, but no matter where I traveled throughout the countries from Maine to California, I kept receiving the same answer. Can you imagine what that answer was? It soon became apparent that the only reason traditional single-row gardening methods continued to exist was it because that's the way we've always done it. Right then and there I said, I'm going to invent a better way to garden. Row gardening is the traditional way, but it is wasteful, inefficient, and a whole lot of back-breaking work, everything that square foot gardening is not. And they're right about that. I grew up with the single row gardening, and it is a lot of back-breaking, hard back-breaking work. And I mean, it's worth it, but it's not. Especially if you have back problems, it's a lot easier for the square foot garden. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing it. So besides that, you can get a whole lot more food into a very small space. So anyway, I'm going to get off from here and I'm going to get this up there and work on getting another one out there. So I will see you guys in a few minutes. Do your research, you guys. It's really important. See you in a few minutes. Bye, guys.